And it's time for weather now. Al Dutcher is here. And Al, you've been covering this flooding since the very beginning. I think the main thing people want to know is more rain on the way.
Well, Troy, we definitely do have rain in the forecast, unfortunately. We did see some this week, and it actually came in a little bit heavier than what the models were predicting. Really, we were looking at light precipitation according to the models when we were given the forecast last week with this event that came in the early part of the week. And we did see those precipitation totals on the heavier side in portions of southeast and central Nebraska. Isolated reports anywhere from a half an inch up to about an inch and a quarter in those areas where we did see some moderate to localized heavier precipitation. In some of the lighter areas, we're basically anywhere from a trace to upwards of about a half of an inch depending on location, and primarily impacting east central, southeast, south central, and central Nebraska. Thankfully, it did not fall up into the area that has gone the extensive flooding. Now, as we go forward in time, though, we are looking at a system that's moving in this weekend. Although it is not as strong as a system that impacted us here with the big cyclone, it definitely is a concern because of the ongoing flooding situation, the residual impacts from that flooding. So let's look at the upper air model, and what we will notice is here's this upper air low that is moving through this region. It's not a real concentrated low. It should move fairly quickly to our northeast over the next 24 to 36 hours, but in the meantime, we do have a surface low basically over the Texas Panhandle. It's going to pull moisture up, although it's not going to be a real strong feed of moisture. It's going to be enough to generate precipitation across the western half of the state, and during the afternoon, overnight hours, it will move toward the east. As tomorrow morning, that trough starts to open up and lift toward the Ohio River Valley. So our surface lows will now be basically in northeastern portions of Missouri. That's going to keep this more significant moisture over Iowa and southeastern Nebraska, and that will rapidly move to the east. A little bit of snow and light rainfall up into the Dakotas, and then we see a ridging pattern building in for the early part of next week. As high pressure firmly sits in control, we'll see some very nice temperatures in regards to that high pressure bringing it into our region. So we're going to be basically into the upper 50s and 60s. Looks like most of the snow will remain well to our north, and then that ridge firmly establishes over the center part of the country on Tuesday, probably one of the warmer days of the week. We do show some surface lows trying to develop on the front side of the Rocky Mountains, but there's no moisture fetch with these, so these are basically dry lows. You can see the absence of precipitation over the central plains. Now, as we go forward, we look at the trough starting to enter the western United States, and that will quickly move into our part of the country by the end of the month. So we see surface lows starting to get organized again on the lee side of the Rocky Mountains. There's not enough moisture to make it up into this region, so we're just looking at a few light scattered precipitation echoes across Kansas. But then this trough really strengthens as we get into Thursday, and that's going to start to shoot out a surface low and get it developing in east central Colorado, really going to pull the moisture up into our region, and unfortunately we may be dealing with some heavy precipitation. And Thursday, it looks like the majority of that will remain over the central Rockies, but once again this low shoots out over northeastern Kansas, really strengthens. Then we get a real tight gradient, a lot of wind associated with this system, deep fetch of moisture, and cold air on the backside. And unfortunately, we'll see thunderstorm development, particularly right now pointing from northeast Nebraska up into Michigan, with accumulating heavy snowfall possible in the Black Hills, Sand Hills, and northwestern Nebraska. And that will basically push its way through our region into Saturday before things start to improve. So then we are looking with this low next Thursday to following Tuesday, below normal temperatures we expect as it pulls the Arctic air into our region, and above normal moisture. So Troy, we have two precipitation events, and next weekend looks to be potentially another flooding event.